Hello friends, my name is RagePanda1 and this is my guide for the male Aeson. So if you've been paying attention in the various forums that people tend to discuss these sort of things in, you will have either seen people saying the male Aeson is the best character in the game or the worst character in the game. So who can you actually believe? Well, if we're going to make a decision on that, first we need to understand what all of our abilities do. Our automatic skill is going to create a shield for the teammate with the lowest health, absorbing damage up to 936% of the caster's strength at max level. The passive skill is going to increase all teammates' strength by 30%. That is insane. I shouldn't probably have to tell you that that's really good. And his ultimate says it deals damage equal to 416% of the caster's strength to the enemy with the highest strength and reduces their damage dealt by 20%. But when we're actually in practice, we can see that it's going to hit everybody, and I'll show you a clip of that now. So we're going to go ahead and take this off of automatic so that we are in control of our ultimates. And as we can see, numbers show up on everybody's head because it actually hits everybody. So that's great to know. And that slight mistake in wording takes this ultimate from being just kind of okay, I guess, with good support and okay damage for a single target, to being one of the best ultimates in the game. I'm not totally clear on whether or not the strength reduction actually takes place on all of the characters, or if it just reduces the strength of the highest strength enemy. I would guess that that is the case, but I'm not sure how to test that because we just don't have great tools for testing when it comes to this game. In terms of positioning for your male Aeson, as you can see, I have him in the back line right now, although that is almost never where I'm going to keep him. I will almost exclusively keep him in the second spot. The times when that changes are when I am specifically trying to hit a certain person with a certain amount of damage. If you have somebody on one side of the field that has a lot of healing, like a female Ugrel or a female Karguk, and maybe a female Lionstone or a male Lionstone, somebody that you want to kill right away, then you want to have all of your damage on one side so that they will go and attack their closest person. And so in situations like that, his basic attack damage isn't really a big deal. I might still put a frontliner in the second spot and then he'll end up in the back row. But almost exclusively, he will be in the second slot, and there's almost no reason to move him out of that spot. The reason I like to keep him there, well, for mine specifically, he's my highest level character and he's basically carrying my entire team. And so I want him to be as safe as possible, and the second slot provides the most safety because there's plenty of attacks that attack your frontliners, and there's plenty of attacks that specifically target the back row, but there's not a great deal of things that specifically target the second slot. So I like to keep him safe, and that's what I do. One way that you can decide what traits that you need to have on your character is by just thinking about what they need to do. So if I'm making a tank, I'm going to need extra health, and I'm definitely going to have energetic. If I have something like this, where I'm going to be doing a ton of damage and it scales well off of my strength, then I know that I need to have brutal. This is one of the people that I specifically would want to have athletic on if I was early enough in the game for athletic to still be good. I happen to have athletic on mine, however, I am about past the point where that matters, and I wouldn't intentionally put it on at this point. After level 300, I would not intentionally put it on anymore. That's just how it happened to roll for this character. So you can see that my guy is set up for pure damage right now. So in a perfect world, I would have this build, except for I would probably switch out athletic for aggressive, or possibly eagle-eyed, but probably aggressive is the way that I would go. We can see that aggressive actually increases our strength. Having our strength going up means that we are also going to be having our shields be stronger. So that is why aggressive is one that I would pick pretty highly on the list for this guy to have. The reason I've chosen agile is because it'll help him get closer to getting a second ultimate faster. But as I've said in multiple forums before, trying to build your team around getting a second ultimate faster, in my experience, isn't that great because if you pay attention when you're playing the game, when you've done one round of your ultimates, the game is basically decided. Enough people have probably died at that point that you are either winning or you're losing, and it's pretty rare that the second ultimate is the thing that is deciding your fights. I think that if you're in a situation where that would make a difference, it would be a small chance instead of the majority rule. So that's why I don't build towards that specifically. The first build I'm going to offer up to you is having Brutal and Fierce, Aggressive, and Agile. I think that that combination is going to give you an absolute ton of damage and really strong shields, and I think you're going to be happy with it. This is a situation where you're not building any extra defense, and so your guy is a little vulnerable, and that's why I think the second slot is a great spot for him, because he is a great character to be building all of that extra strength on. You could also switch Agile for Eagle-Eyed to be trying to get some cheeky crits with your ultimate. That would do a crazy amount of damage, but I don't think it's better than having Agile, but your mileage may vary. If I wanted to do a different build where I maybe was more tanky and I could keep this guy alive longer, I would suggest going for Brutal and Aggressive, because again, we want to stack our strength as high as possible so that we're getting the benefit on our shields and on our damage. And then I would put Energetic and Loyal so that I am just as tanky as I possibly could be. Something to understand about Loyal is that it doesn't help you as much against big ultimate attacks. So if the thing that you're dying to is ultimate attacks and not basic attacks, then you don't really need to worry about it as much. But if you're taking a lot of chip damage and that's what's killing you, then Loyal is really good because it reduces by a flat amount. At least that's what I have been given to understand. In terms of synergies for this guy, I have to say that I don't particularly love using him with a male Lionstone. I feel like that's kind of like putting a hat on a hat. You're doing shields and you're doing shields, and it's fine, right? But I'm not sure how the mathematics work when you're overlapping that, if they're additive or what they're doing. And I just don't think it's as good as having him keep people alive who are less tanky in general. In terms of synergies for this guy, he is just basically good for any team. He's sort of like the female Lionstone. You can put her on any team and she's going to be great. This guy you can put on any team and he's going to be great. You can get more out of him if you are taking advantage of his Devout trait, which would mean that you would have things like the female Karguk, the female Ugril, maybe even the male Ugril, who is much better now after the attack speed fix. He's still not my favorite character, but he's much better. Anything that you can benefit from a lot of healing is good with this character. I do think that even putting a male Lume with this guy could be good, because this guy does so much damage, you can basically count him as a DPS character and not a support. So while I would never put a female Aeson with a male Lume, because again, you're just filling multiple roles at the same time, you're going to end up with too low of damage. Having this guy plus a male Lume, you're going to get the effectiveness of this trait and also a ton of damage and great shields, so I think that's fine to use. He of course does synergize very well with the female Lionstone because he hits like an absolute truck and he hits the entire battlefield, and so having all of the extra strength bonus on top of that, can't go wrong. If I had to decide whether this guy was S tier or bottom of the barrel F tier, then I would say he is definitely much closer to the top of being a really good character. I think that investing in the male Aeson is always going to give you good returns. You can use him on so many teams that if you get the opportunity to get a mythic or legendary version, you should be trying to level him up and you should be trying to put him on your team, because he's going to treat you very well. That's going to do it for this guide. I want to thank you for watching. I have been RagePanda1, and I will see you in the next one.